Welcome to the Gabrielle Spencer Power Up Your Abundance podcast. Unlock and unleash your abundance by getting your no-charge MP3 at uanow.net/unlock.
Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me today for the Power Up Your Abundance show. Today, I am super excited to welcome Luci McMonagle to be here and share with you something super amazing and awesome that she has put together. And we'll talk more about that as we go in this show. So for right now, let me introduce you to Luci. She is a spiritual leader, and she is world-renowned as a person of influence and a community builder. And she's known as the mystic wealth mentor that empowers others to bridge their spiritual and practical skills together to unleash their inner millionaire while creating a legacy. Her mission is to create a legacy to bring prosperity and peace to the world. And she's also the host of the Wealthy Wednesday show and an international best-selling author of Magical Money Manifestations. And this book, The Magical Money Manifestations, is a practical and spiritual guide to manifesting more money, more freedom, and more joy. Thank you. Oh, beautiful cover. And she's here to talk to us about this today, because this is really what Powering Up Your Abundance is all about, is the many ways of telling you the same information, right? So that however it resonates with you, you get it, because it's all about those aha moments. So Luci, welcome. Thank you for being here today.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful to be here.
I know, it's awesome. I'm so grateful to get to work together again.
Yes.
Absolutely love that you're here and willing to talk about your amazing book, which I did listen to. Actually, I got to listen to the audio version, so I was
awesome.
Super excited about it. So for you, I have a couple things. And so we're not going to go exactly in order of the book, right? And we're not going to give away all the secrets, because there are some really great practical tips and ways for people to identify what's going on with them. And I think that that's one of the biggest issues for people is, how does your information apply to me, and how do I know when a certain something is coming up for me? So do you want to start off there and just say, okay, so
yes,
take it away.
So one of the main things is a lot of times we have these hidden thoughts and these hidden belief systems that we're not even aware of, because we think that we're conscious of what's really going on. But in reality, we have thoughts going on in the background that keep running old tapes from when you were a child, from when you had traumas, and a lot of times they prevent us from moving forward. So as an example, let's use the word no. And when you were growing up, you associated the word no with, this is dangerous. This is, I might get hurt, or I can't have that, or I'm a bad person, because if I was a good person, I would get that. And so a lot of times the main sabotages a lot of individuals have when it comes to abundance is they don't know how to use the word no properly, in the sense that setting boundaries. And they don't know how to use the word properly when it comes to what to buy, what not to buy, what to say yes to, and what to say no to when it comes to bringing in more wealth, abundance, and prosperity. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It made me think of some other things, actually, because for me, when I hear no, even when I hear it on the other side when I'm connected, my next question is, so what's the workaround, or what's the next thing that I should be looking into? Because truly that could be a no, and that is rightfully so. And I think what you're saying is we take it personally, and the way when you finally get into this groove of what's going on, you actually don't take it personally. You take it as, that's great guidance. Now what do I do? Right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I love the mind hacks. I love the workarounds. And there's always a bare basics, 3 ways to get what you want. I mean, that bare basics. I mean, there's actually a lot more, but if you start looking at life on, okay, so this is what I desire, this is what I really truly want, and you get a no the first time you do it, and you're like, okay, well that didn't work. Some people just say, they give up and they go in another direction.
Right.
And what the universe does, and this is really kind of sneaky, is they want to make sure that's really what you want. I mean, is that really, really what you want? And so if you just give up right away, they're like, they weren't serious. Yeah, next. And so when you start looking at it, there's got to be another way. And so you start looking for the workaround. You start looking for, all right, so let's say I wanted to be on your show. And at first I was like, well, how do I even ask? How do I even get on the show? And so I start looking at ways on what would benefit you. How can I be of service to you? So eventually maybe we might collaborate. And so approaching it with, how can I give? Not necessarily expecting anything, because if you give only with the expectation that I'm going to get back, that doesn't work. But if you really truly give and you're looking for, how can this be win-win for everybody? That's when you start getting more and more of what you want. And if you keep going back and forth on how to move forward, and the brain is very, very tricky, because when we want to move towards something, if our self-protection mechanisms thinks that's going to be unsafe for us, it will find every single obstacle to put in front of you to that goal, or you in that end outcome, because it's afraid of the change.
Right. And its main programming is to protect you.
Absolutely.
I mean, you and I think very similarly on this and teach very similarly on this, because the mind's job is to come in and keep you safe and to protect you from harm, however that looks. And unfortunately, when people talk about limitations and beliefs, it isn't just that you have limitations and beliefs. It's that the safe mode of operation is that the brain will kick in and think up all these reasons. So even if you didn't have a preconceived idea or belief about something, a situation will trigger the brain, because you're a learning person. That's what you do. And so your brain draws up all these things that you heard about somebody's friend who, they got run over by a car or something crazy when they did, XYZ. And so you actually bring experiences into your life that have nothing to do with you, period.
Yes.
And you then make that your new fear and your new reason for not risking it, right? And so that's when people think to themselves, well, there must be something, but actually the something is your brain.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, it's not always about digging out. I tell people sometimes it's not about finding more stuff to release.
That's true.
Sometimes it's about stretching past your limitations.
Yes.
And then where does that take you? And then where's the guidance? Like, how do you know what to stretch toward? And that's what you were talking about just earlier, is how do you know? And how do you do the workaround? So in your book, tell us then the next piece, because there was something in here that you talked about, which is the process of planting your seeds of greatness. So I think this is a great segue to that, because we're stretching, but then what's next, right?
Exactly.
Stretching into what? Tell us how to do that.
So first you have to find out where you're at. You've got to find out what soil you're digging in. And the real quick and easy way to do that is just pay attention. Take a note card, take a notebook, use your cell phone. Do you have happy thoughts, positive thoughts, negative thoughts? Not? And just keep a score. And then you know where you're starting from. It's like, oh, okay. So you might have brittle soil in your mind, or you might have something that's hard, or maybe it's not so easy. Maybe it's
Could be
slippery.
chaotic. I
Yeah.
find that a lot of my clients, it's just chaos in there, like a gazillion thoughts, and they're not even sure where to focus.
Right. So the thing is you figure out where you're starting from. Easy. And then the second part is to start getting a grip on all of those chaotic thoughts, because if you can't manage your chaotic thoughts, it's kind of hard to plant the seeds. Or you'll kind of plant seeds like this and hope something will grow somewhere. And
Yeah, right.
I'm going to teach a real quick 30-second on how to slow down your mind. It takes practice. If you have lots and lots of chaos like I did, my mind would like whirl so fast that I thought I was either ADHD or bipolar or something. There was something wrong in my 20s. And so you put your fingers together like this. A lot of people say, oh, that's that yoga position. But in the mystic school, they don't tell you the second part. And so you put your fingers like this, you relax them. But the second part is you take the tip of your tongue and you reach on the roof of your mouth. And behind your teeth, there's a mound in the center. Now, a lot of people just kind of put their tongue on the roof of their mouth. It has to be the tip. So it's almost like you're tipping your thumb, your tongue upward. And then you breathe in what you want. So I breathe in focused, balanced, centered. And you hold it for a second. You breathe out. Breathe in, focused, balanced, centered. Hold it for a second. Breathe out. And then do it again, focused, balanced, centered. And start controlling your mind. Take control of it. And hold it and then breathe out. Let go of your fingers. Let go of the tip of your tongue from the roof of your mouth. And then just pay attention that at first it's like a millisecond of silence. That gap is pure potentiality of manifestation. And then the next time you try it, you might breathe in 4 or 5 breaths. And you can start putting your hands on your ears and say, be silent, so that you actually start controlling it, because your mind is a muscle. And all these years you've had all of this information overload. And so it's going to be scattered and chaotic and doesn't know where it's going. So you focus and tell it to be silent. And now you're ready to plant the seeds. The seeds are, what do you want? And our minds think on several different levels. I am very visual. So I like putting pictures of what I want. And I don't mean like a great big collage of all these pictures on a board.
Not a vision board.
Yeah, a vision board, because the vision boards make me feel like information overload. I've got all these pictures and I'm like, oh, I did my vision board, and now I'm like, oh.
Now what?
Now what? Yeah. So I like using words. I like using affirmations. I like imagining going into my mind, pulling out the weeds, which are the negative thoughts, the negative things that I don't want in my life. And then I imagine planting these beautiful seeds. And then I start taking care of them. So as I do that, I have a visual of me planting seeds, which are the positive affirmations that I choose to have in my life after pulling out the weeds. Does that make sense?
It does. So share with us a Luci's favorite powerful affirmation.
So one of my favorite affirmations for today is something absolutely amazing and awesome is going to happen to me today. And so I've been saying that for about a week, and I've actually have had so many amazing things happen. I've gotten my hotel free for an entire week.
Awesome.
No, I'm not sharing it with anybody. And
Awesome.
I've had friends that I haven't talked to for years get a hold of me, and I've gotten unexpected gifts in the mail from my friends, not from strangers. I'd be a little paranoid if strangers sent me stuff. And it's just like, or I've met these amazing people. Mm-hmm. So that's my current affirmation, but I also still use, I am valuable, precious, and rare. I also like to use, I call forth my ancient sacred self, and I start manifesting what I desire. I have everything I need, want, and desire is a really powerful one, because in it always, your mind, you're always telling your mind, I have everything I need, want, and desire. So it's like all of a sudden, all of this stuff starts coming to you. And one of the hardest things that I had to learn was how to receive without having the expectation that they expected something other than wanting to give, which is a gift of in itself.
It's also a universal law of reciprocity.
Yes, that's true. It does.
And everything that we put out there, as you said, with that idea of just, I want to be of service, then that comes back to you tenfold, as you're saying, and that's the universal law. So yes, it's so important actually to just do it because it feels right for you. And I think this is for me, that's how I tell the difference of I'm doing it because I want something versus I just believe this is the right thing for me to do, or the thing that I need to do next, and most of the time it doesn't make logical sense actually, because it doesn't matter what it is for you. It's about the service. And I think that's a differentiation that people need to understand. It's not, if I do this tit for tat, I will get blank, Correct. So I totally agree with you. But then that brings me to another point in your book. And it's where you talk about actually that there is a pitfall with the idea of being of service, especially for people who are in that realm of service, healers and coaches and, like that. It's difficult. So can you give us a little snippet about that? Because I totally resonate with what you have to say about it. And I think it's important for people to hear that it's a real thing, but it's also, you can get over it.
Yes. So being of service is important in a lot of aspects, as long as it's not to the point of detriment to you and to other people. So as an example, when I was in home health care, I was of service to my clients. But if I didn't have them push through the physical therapy that they had to do in between their appointments with their physical therapist, it was not helpful for them. So learning how to be of service up to the point of being helpful. And that also means taking care of yourself, setting boundaries, especially with other individuals who love people who are of service and they want to take and take and take and take until you have nothing left to give. So start looking at how can I take care of me first and foremost, which is not selfish, because when your cup is overflowing, you can give more.
True.
And so looking at me first in the sense on how can I fill myself up so much that I'm just oozing out whatever it is that I'm going to give. And from that point, allowing it to ooze out without letting people take advantage of you. And it's kind of a fine line between being of service and being a doormat. So looking at, is this feeling like I'm starting to give more and too much? Or are these people expecting me to give more and more and more? Am I allowing other people to treat me badly in order for them to get what they want, but then I'm not getting what I want, and it's not balanced? So looking at how can I balance this in such a way that's practical and that honors me. And by honoring myself, I honor other people, even if the mind sometimes tells us that we should feel guilty, or maybe we're not a good person because we're not giving everything to everybody. And holding back those self-judgments is crucial for you to be able to be at that balance point. Does that help with it?
Well, it made me think about bringing back in the stretch and how
Yes.
you stretch over the self-judgment and the recrimination that happens when there might be a time that you do overgive. And then what happens? What do you do to deal with that at that point? Because that's when when you end up in that place, you sort of negate the good, because then you've gone now into a lower vibration of now I regret it, and you're mad at yourself, and you go into all of that. So how do you stretch beyond that?
So first, stretching beyond that, let's say you've already done it, but by the time you realized it, you already gave too much.
Yeah.
And being very forgiving to yourself is very important. And looking for telltale signs. Okay, so I just caught it now, and I didn't catch it when I was giving too much, because I was just in the movement, and I just wanted to give and give and give, and I just felt so good, and now I'm depleted. But right before that point of starting to go down to the depletion, there was some type of a trigger that I didn't quite catch. So it goes back to being more mindful. When you start giving, when you start feeling, you start paying attention, you start feeling that energy kind of going a little bit inside of you, or that you catch that thought like, and it might not be a thought, it might just be a feeling. When you start catching that, then you just slowly back up, and you are gracious and smile, and you start asking for what can be given in exchange. So let's say you've been making meals, you've been doing this, sitting down with the individual that you're overgiving with and specify, hey, I'd really like to have some fun things that we can do and express, and I'd like this to be fair for both of us, and so that it honors you and honors me, and how, express what you need. And then without taking it personal, the other person may or may not give it to you, but also being able to catch it, forgive yourself, talk about it, pull back a little bit. I mean, don't pull back so fast that you shock people, because then they'll be like on you. But just start slowly pulling back a little bit, allow some space for yourself, and then reflect back on when the situation comes up again, because it will come up again until we actually get it. Then start paying attention to it.
So you would say this is how best to deal with the energy drainers, as you talk about them in your book. And it happens, and the advice of being in balance, it all starts about you, each person. Yes. It's actually always comes back to your balance and you connecting within yourself to find out where you are and what's going on, and to what it is you're meant to learn, so you stop repeating these experiences.
Yes, exactly.
So you also talk about the money boogeyman. I thought that was pretty.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about it, just a little bit, because we want everybody to read her book. Yes. Her book, Magical, Magical Money Manifestations. There we go. I love your cover. Just such great, vibrant energy from that. So in this book, you talk about all of these things, but you talk about them in a systematic way.
Correct.
So you lead people from A, B, C equals, D.
Correct.
So this is what's important about money manifestation, that it is not hit or miss, as you already said. I mean, when we're all doing 10,000 things, hoping that one of them is going to come together, think of that like when you take a bird shot in a shotgun, right? And you shoot it, and you just get a billion little BBs that run out there, and they may or may not hit the target. And that's what's happening for most people when they're trying to manifest. And some of the things that happen are not desirable, because you don't know where those little BBs are going.
Yes, that's true. Absolutely.
And you have no control over them either. Once they've been shot out there, they could go anywhere, hit anything. You have no idea what it's going to trigger and bring into your existence, into your reality, actually. And so part of the money boogeyman really caught my attention, because I thought, okay, so for people, there are things that are secretly within them that they don't know that they've triggered it until. And so this is one of those situations where you may be throwing things out there to bring yourself more money or more abundance in whatever way, peace, love, and joy, and happiness, and all of those, because that's all part of it. How do you deal with that? Tell us more about the money boogeyman, how it relates to what we're talking about, and why it is important for people to understand this concept.
Absolutely. So the money boogeyman is things that you believe about money that may or may not be true. But it's kind of distorted. And I'm going to give an example. One of the individuals that I was working with, she thought she dealt with her money boogeyman. She thought she dealt with her money issues. She didn't have any problems. She was kind of having some money coming in. She was pretty happy with it. And then we did a thing together, and then we were talking about, having cash on hand and stuff. So she was like, I'm good with that. And then I'm like, well, do you carry cash on hand? And they had a couple of dollars, and they were like, those are $100 bills. And it's like, all of a sudden she just flipped, because she didn't realize that she's okay with a little bit of money, but not a lot of money. And so that's like a money boogeyman trigger right there. Is you might be okay if, I'm charging within what everybody else charges. And you might be okay with a certain level, but the money boogeyman is actually inside of you, and it's a belief system about what you're allowed to charge. It's a belief system about what you can have, what you can't have. And it kind of distorts your ability to attract more money. Or you might have a really wonderful money boogeyman that will let you almost get the money. And as an example, a friend of mine was at the casino, and I don't advocate being at the casino, but they were there for a couple of hours. They weren't getting anything. They walked away to turn in their little ticket for, like $50. And they turned around. A lady just got on the machine. Within 5 minutes, she hit over $1 million. That's like a money boogeyman. It's like you're almost there, but it happens over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
You're almost there, or
and then you give up.
You almost got that 6-figure sales deal, or you almost got that client, and it's like a carrot being dragged, and you're trying to catch the carrot. So the money boogeyman will do things that will make you absolutely feel like you're insane. Mm-hmm. But it's tricks that it's playing in your mind. And to really start looking at it is to get a hold of it. And I actually like to write down all of the things that really makes me angry about what I missed out on, or what I didn't get, or the money I didn't have, or I write down all of these things, and then I take a great big huge black magic marker and I put a great big X on it, and I rip it up, and then I throw it into a little incinerator. And I do something physical because I want to start creating a better relationship. And you can do that with the money boogeyman. You can do that with anything that you're just really not happy with. It works really, really good on all levels. So helping yourself by catching the triggers, telling them to go away when he comes into your life. Be curious on, okay, how did that happen? And, try to start finding out, where's the edge? How did that get created? And start asking yourself really probing questions.
So your first probing question, I know there's more in the book because you have many processes throughout this amazing book that give to people what you're talking about, the actual steps that they need to take to ask deeper questions and to know where to start. Because a lot of times, we have to start somewhere and then learn how to follow the thread. Because that's really what makes the difference versus just, again, shooting out there in the dark and hoping that you hit something that means something and is going to change something for you. And so that's where the book comes in, that you're explaining throughout each chapter. Like you gave the example, here's the example. This is what you need to do in order to deal with this situation or what you're seeing come up in your life. Because that's for where people get hung up. I feel that they don't really, it's like, okay, that's great information, but now what do I do? And I know for myself, I'm a doer. So I want to know what I need to do. And I think that that's a big piece for people. So overall, with regard to magical money manifestation, give us one last parting thought about your book and how it serves people, because that's the reason that you wrote this book. Correct. Because as I listened to it, I understood that's the thread that runs throughout. It's not a book written about how amazing Luci is, although you are. You're an amazing being and a lovely, lovely person. It is really set up in a way to explain to people the who, what, why, when, how story, because that's how we're set up, as our minds are set up. That's how they're programmed. And a lot of times, because we all talk about things in a bit of an esoteric way, it loses the application part. And that for me is what your book is. It's the manual. It's the application piece. So with me telling everybody that's what it is, everybody, it's the application of how you move into the energetic of magical money manifestation, because the magic is actually in the process.
Yes.
It's not abracadabra, which I find myself saying so often. It's not abracadabra, but it feels like magic once you're in it and you start practicing. Because it's amazing how the universe works and how the universal energy happens and how the people come into your life and, the amazing things. You and I could probably sit around for a while and go, and then this happened and then that happened. And, I explain it to my audience often that you actually live your life as an adventure. Like, I can't wait to see what's going to happen versus, oh no, when is the other shoe going to drop? It's a totally different perspective. And so I feel like for you, that is a large part of how you wrote this book. Does that resonate for you?
Yes.
Did I get it?
Yes, you got it. And I wrote this book. These are the exact steps that I took in the sequence that I took them in order to become a multimillionaire in my younger years. And I'm not saying you're going to become a multimillionaire. That is a potentiality. You can. You might not want to be. You might have hang-ups and believe that there's too much responsibility. I believe that when you have more wealth, you have the ability to do more good. And so one of the parting things that I'd like to say about this book is you mentioned that the cover is so intricate and beautiful and stuff. This cover actually has magical symbols hidden inside of them, which is, when I see magical symbols, what I mean is it has sacred geometry that our subconscious mind picks up and is able to start translating into abundance into your life. So that the first part is you have sacred geometry that starts opening up your ability to start having more abundance. The second part is when you're reading the book or when you're listening to the book, there's a sequence of high vibrational words put in an exact sequence that starts raising your wealth vibration. So when your subconscious mind, when your mind hears these high vibrational words in a sequence, it starts opening up your mind so that you're more ready to start receiving abundance. And I've had people who have manifested cars by reading this book. I've had people who have manifested six-figure deals. They were in sales and they never manifested that before. I've had individuals who were able to buy their new home, take their dream vacation, because they started following the steps through this book. And many of them are like, Luci, when are you going to do part 2? So even if you kind of go through the book haphazardly, you'll get kind of some results, but it's really, really thin. Look, it's so tiny. But
it's not about how thick. It's
right.
Quality of information and vibrational frequencies that
in the vibration. Yes, exactly. So I kept it concise so that individuals would be able to easily follow it. And because a lot of people make this manifestation, this abundance, they make it all complicated.
True.
And then you're left with, I don't know if I can do this. And you're more confused after you read a book this big about, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to, it's like, by the time this is really easy, it's like, oh, okay, I just read one little chapter at a time. And it's like, oh, okay, so here's a little exercise. Hey, let's try this. Let's see what it does. That's pretty cool. And then you start moving forward in a sequence. So
sequence is important.
Yes. Sequence is very important.
Universal frequency is mathematical. And it's just like, when you do math, when you don't do it in the sequence that the problem needs to be solved, it is unsolvable.
Correct.
The magic is in doing it in the correct sequence. And that's the difference between failing your math test and getting an amazing grade. And it's the same with abundance manifestation. You're still going to get you're still going to get some if you're doing it, haphazardly. You're going to get a few things to roll your way, but that's what I call the one-hit wonders. You get lucky. And if you want to move into sustainable manifestation, you have to be in the frequency and the sequence of that frequency. So that's what we're talking about with regard to the book and how that Luci has set it up with regard to the high frequency sequencing, both just with the words, but also with the energetic setup within the book with the sacred geometry. Sacred geometry is math. And I say this all the time. The whole universe runs on mathematical frequencies, which I was not a great math student. But the good news is you don't need to know it. You don't need to know math. You just need to follow the directions and to do it as it's recommended. And Luci made it super clear in the book. And, I thought, okay, this is really easy because you kept it from being super complex. And that's probably the hardest part for people who teach money manifestation and abundance is to keep it simple, because it's not complicated, but we can certainly start making it very complicated when we're trying to explain it, because there are different levels. Let's be real, right? There are different levels based on your frequency as to what works and then what works even better.
Correct.
As Luci says, this is a book to get you in that frequency. You still have to hit the bandwidth where you need to be just to even get on the train, basically. So this is getting you on the train and getting you to station A and B and C so that you can start your trajectory to that multi-million dollars. You have to start. That's always key. That's the stretch. Just get started.
That is the stretch. Get started, and even if you choose to move slowly, that's okay. You can move slowly.
Mm-hmm.
If you move too fast, sometimes you miss things. So pace yourself is important.
Okay. Well, with that, Luci, I thank you for being here and sharing with us your beautiful, magical money manifestation, your wonderful contribution of service to help each and every person. There's just absolutely no excuse for anyone out there listening. It's time to get started and do it in a perfectly sequenced way that's simple and easy and fun too. Luci's got some great fun exercises in there to help you to understand and to be able to put into practice what she's explaining to you, which is also a great gift. So thank you so much, sweetie. I appreciate you being here, and to everybody out there, to the listening audience, I thank you for being here and listening. And I do hope with all of my heart that you receive the highest vibration of money manifestation possible. Thank you, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you.
Namaste.
If you are ready to work with Gabrielle and open your heart to unlimited abundance, go to uanow.net/apply.